Nebs and Debs is a new platform game released for the NES via Kickstarter and shipped in early 2019. Okay, right off the bat, the guy who made this, Chris Cacciatore, platform game. Hell yeah, dude. I've got a pet penchant for people who say platform game or shooting game, even just occasionally. It just makes sense. Anyway, one line in, I'm already off the rails. The unfinished demo was already the runner-up in the 2016 NES Dev Compo, and the game has been entirely improved since then. Better levels, better art, better play control. Have you ever wished Wario Land was better in every way? That's Nebs and Debs. Kinda. Sorry, I'm not the biggest Wario Land fan, I'm just trying to set the stage here. Nebs and Debs is about a spaceship pilot, Debs, who crash lands on the alien planet Vespasian 7MV, and a pink octopus, Nebs, attaches itself to her head. Alien robots cut up your ship, and you need to go find the pieces over 12 2D side-scrolling levels. Nebs sucks crystals out of Debs or something. You have a supply of crystals that's constantly ticking down, and while you try to reach the end of each stage, you have to keep collecting crystals to keep the timer up, basically. So the gems you pick up along the way actually serve a purpose. They add to the timer. And the game is well balanced around this mechanic. You don't have an overwhelming amount of time like 400 seconds in a Mario game, but it's not too tight either. The main collectible in the game, which is usually some useless throwaway points item in nearly every NES game, is actually useful. I think this is the only NES game I've played where I'll find a chest of 20 gems and I'll actually get pretty excited about it. The attack and traversal mechanic in this game is the dash, which I guess Nebs somehow allows you to do. You can't jump on guys, you can only dash through them. And you get one dash per jump, but if you hit an enemy mid-air, the dash recharges. You can get up to 2 potion power-ups that extend the length of your dash too. Your starting dash is a bit short. Double powered up, your dash is unwieldy and too long though. The level seemed designed to be easiest with 1 potion, not 2, so I found myself intentionally avoiding a second power-up. Nebs and Debs has challenging level design from the outset, and it holds it all the way through. You'll frequently need to do precise mid-air dashes and land on just a single block, or chain air attacks in a specific sequence. Since enemies are only spaced apart, however far they're spaced apart, this is why I felt like having 2 potions was usually a disadvantage. You only get 3 lives and you have to beat all 12 stages in one go, no continues. It's very much in the vein of similar tough platformers like Ninja Gaiden. And I'm sorry, I compare just about everything to Ninja Gaiden because I absolutely love it, but here, levels will seem really tough your first time through, and then you'll start breaking down each section as an individual platforming puzzle. Once you've quote-unquote solved a screen, you'll be dashing through the earlier levels like a pro. The game is set up so you gradually get good at each level and end up flying through the game at top speed, as opposed to something like Battle Kid, where you get checkpoints in the middle of the game, and you just grind your face off super hard on the same section 25 times until you finally do it once, or on the other side of the spectrum is something like Mario 3, where you never really have to practice or learn everything, even after playing the game 100 times, you just kind of sight read it. So here's an example of a screen I had down to a science because I was having such a rough time with the level. Run down to the bottom right to spawn the floating guy, jump dash and kill him. Jump up here, jump up to the ledge and then dash, it's not worth trying to do it in one motion. Walk off the ledge. Jump over this guy. Face left on the way down. Half jump, then double dash to get the one up. Dash off and hold right to land on the lower ledge, it's not worth trying to land on the single block. Jump up and continue the level. If you enjoy this kind of platforming where you have to discover a strategy and then just execute it over and over, you will love Nebs and Debs just like I did. This is personally my favorite style of platformer, especially when it doesn't waste your time with 15 levels of sunshine and rainbows before it ramps up the difficulty to a level for someone who has played a video game before. And let's face it, if you're playing Nebs and Debs, you probably don't need the Green Hill Zone to ease you into how to play a retro video game. And it's challenging, but I don't want to say it's ridiculous or anything. On the scale of Rescue Rangers to Akari Warriors, I think Nebs and Debs lands in between Contra and Ninja Gaiden, which is probably the Goldilocks zone for most players, I think. And Homebrew version. A lot of the challenge in this game comes from how you chain your dash attacks. So your dash recharges every time you hit an enemy, so if you hit one mid-air, you can extend your jump even longer. At times, you'll have to do this 2 or 3 times in a single jump to clear a tricky gap. And numerous times, this means timing your jump with rocks that fall from the ceiling so you can dash off them as they're falling. It's tricky stuff. There are 2 more important mobility mechanics I want to discuss, and I think one's intentional and the other might be a happy little bug. If you jump, dash, and then hold A, you get a boost at the end of your dash which completes the rest of your jump. Alternatively, you could just dash and then hold A, and at the end of your dash, you'll do a full jump mid-air. This is called conservation of vertical velocity in the manual, but I don't know about that. You have to do something similar with springs a couple times in the game, but nowhere is this maneuver actually required to beat the game. And it lets you skip a couple of tricky combo jumps. The second is that your dash will recharge midair if you get very near to, but don't actually hit an enemy. This one actually seems like a bug to me, because you're only supposed to recharge if you hit an enemy, but if you screw up a jump and you're helpless and falling, if you're quick, it gives you a pretty cool chance to recover. Both of these moves, combined with a game that already has you flying around, chaining together flowy dash attacks, really gives you that I could do anything feel. And I know it's cliche to say, but most times when you die, you will feel like it's 100% your fault. The 12 levels in Nebs and Debs are set up in 3 sets of 4. Every 4th level is sort of a boss fight where you have to chase and catch a robot holding a piece of your ship. So this means in addition to the gems, which yes are still a timer ticking down in these levels, you can't let the robot leave the right edge of the screen. Despite the double time pressure on these levels, they're some of the shortest and thus easiest levels, so they're actually more of a breather than a roadblock. Strewn throughout the game are hidden chests that pop up when you touch them. It's impossible to not compare this to DuckTales, and I mean even the things you're finding, gems, are basically the same thing. But you'll either get a potion, 20 gems, or a 1-up from these chests. And they're smartly placed. If you go a bit off the critical path, you're likely to find a 1-up chest, while something like a potion is usually in plain sight right on the floor. There are a lot of secrets to be found, but they don't feel pointless. No offense to DuckTales, but when you find gems and ice cream cones midair every other jump, it kinda dilutes how special your secrets are. Here's an example of a tricky chest. If you dash through these slugs, you're likely to chain dash off them and run through the level exit. But if you jump just right, you can walk past the exit to this 1-up. There were a couple times where I felt like I was more clever than the game was. In this level, you can hop up descending platforms just like in Super Mario Bros. 1-2, except when you get to the end of the level, there's no secret, you're just stuck here and have to wait to die. Bummer. Nebs and Debs is a pretty excellent feeling game, in that once you ramp up your skills, you have a pretty good amount of control and flow. If there's one bad thing about the controls, it's very hard to make precise movements like in Mega Man. Look at this platform here again. Remember how I jump up and then turn in the air? When you're standing on a block like this and just tap the D-pad, one of 2 things usually happens. The first is absolutely nothing. Your sprite takes a step but doesn't actually move. The second is you go rocketing off the platform at full speed. This is actually a big change from the demo. In the demo, it takes a second to ramp up to speed, and it's easy to make small adjustments, but in the retail game, the acceleration period was all but removed, so you get up to speed pretty much instantly. I think the slow acceleration tends to make platform games feel mushy, so I do like the new snappier movement, but because there's a lot of fiddly single-block platforming, it would be nice if it was easier to take a single step. At 12 levels, Nebs and Debs is pretty short. There are 4 missing parts to your ship, and you get 2 of them on the last level. It kinda feels like it was originally planned to have 16 levels, and that would have been around just the right length for me. And Homebrew version. Considering they're all good levels, and it's a very fun game to replay, this isn't a big problem. But there's one more big feature of Nebs and Debs. At the end of the game, it says, "Well done, you escaped too easily." If you press start again, it takes you back to the title screen, but if you press start again, you get a second loop, and it's insane. And look, people exaggerate the word insane a lot. Cuphead's insane. The second loop is insane. Everything is faster, the timer ticks down faster, the robots are faster, the bosses are faster, there's no more 1-ups. Every hidden 1-up block is replaced with a 20 gem chest. Every time you stopped and thought about a jump, every time you wanted to wait for a cycle that you liked, every time you landed on a platform in the middle of a sequence for safety, instead of going for one crazy long combo jump through an entire section, just forget about it. You stop, the game is already over. Most levels you'll barely have enough time to beat because the timer is just relentless. I feel kind of bad I'm only giving this quick shout out to this second loop, because to hardcore gamers, this will be the real game. I can't beat this loop yet though. I mean, just going through the first loop without 1-ups alone, let alone this manic speedrun version of the game, would be super tough. Sometimes you beat a game and you think, that was pretty easy, you'll probably never go back to it. This mode ensures that you can't give Nebs and Debs any crap for being only 12 levels long, because it will certainly take you effort to master and get to the true ending at the end of this loop. Okay, this review is already longer than it needs to be. 2 last things, I promise. 1, the color scheme is a little bit samey. There's kind of 4 environments, and many levels have an aquamarine or turquoise thing going on. I get that it's supposed to be this cohesive alien planet, but since the game is short, I could have used a little bit more color variety. Super minor thing. Second, the music is kick-ass. I rarely mention music because if it's bad, I just tune it out. If it's average, I'm just like, okay, it's NES music. But just check this out for 10 seconds. It's pretty rad. And Nebs and Debs is pretty rad. I was ready to call it a good game after beating it once, but after going back and playing through it multiple times, and seeing just how flowy the levels are designed, finding new secrets, and digging into the ultimate challenge of the second loop, I think Nebs and Debs is in the top tier of NES Homebrew. Don't worry, Battle Kid 2, you're still better than everyone, you're in your own league. But in the small group of games just below that, Nebs and Debs is among the Homebrew elite. Yeah, it's another NES platform game, but the versatile dash mechanic really sets it apart. And I think the difficulty is absolutely spot on, as a game that will challenge you as you learn, is super fun to blast through once you know it, and has this final crazy challenge for expert players. Nebs and Debs was first available on Kickstarter, and I think it will have a wide release later this year in 2019. You can sign up for updates on nebsanddebs.com, and if I had to guess, it'll probably cost around $50 for a complete copy. Forget the NES compo demo. I mean, maybe don't. I'm sure Chris put a lot of work into that too, but it's like 2 minutes long, extremely easy. It's not even close to representative of just how good the retail game is. Buy the retail game. If you like the genre, it's a very polished and well-designed game. That's it for Nebs and Debs. Thank you for watching.